Hey now, Halloween hounds, it is Blackmetalwerewolf making a brand new October video for you this week. And today, what we will be doing is a Halloween playlist video. Now, I know I did a playlist video a few years ago, but looking back, it was pretty much just a bunch of soundtracks from horror movies that I like. And though those are quite good, I thought this year I should do a bunch of rock and metal songs for my Halloween playlist. So let's get to it. Now, it really wouldn't be a Halloween playlist without the man himself, Alice Cooper, being on there. So for those of you who don't know, around 2009, I believe, he released an album called Along Came a Spider. Now, it's a concept album about this serial killer who hunts down women, chops their legs off, and then uses them to make these weird, grotesque spider decorations made of all the women's legs. It's super weird, but it's also kinda rockin' and pretty spooky. So I chose 3 songs off that album. The first one being the Prologue, called I Know Where You Live. And that's pretty much just about this serial killer and his habits about choosing his victims, hunting them down, killing their boyfriends. There isn't much more to it other than that, really, and it's just a weird glimpse into the mind of this serial killer that Alice Cooper created. The second song is called Vengeance Is Mine. Now, at this point in the concept album, the serial killer has been locked up in the nut house, and now he's just contemplating over in his head about how he's going to escape and wreak his horrible vengeance on the world for locking him away. Another really great part about that song is that Slash does the lead guitar in that song. So not only is it really dark and just thinking about this person who wants to wreak their horrible vengeance, but it's also really rocking too. Now, the final song I picked from that album is the epilogue, I Am the Spider. Throughout this entire concept album, he goes from being a murderer to being locked up to getting free, falling in love, but now he's going back to his old ways of becoming the spider, hunting these women and catching them in his web. It's pretty dark, and that's what I love about it. And to me, it really creates a whole Halloween spirit. It's pretty damn good. And for one more song from Alice Cooper on this playlist, I chose the live version of The Black Widow. Now, of course, every Alice Cooper fan knows the song The Black Widow. It's very popular. It has the intro by Vincent Price. It's a fan favorite. But I do have to say, the studio version of that song on Welcome to My Nightmare, I absolutely hate. I think it's a really boring song. I don't really get much appeal out of it. However, a few years ago, I saw Alice Cooper live, and he performed The Black Widow, and it blew me away. Hearing it live and seeing the stage performance live totally changes that song 100%. So on the album Welcome to My Nightmare, there is a live recording of The Black Widow. And in my opinion, that needs to be on every Halloween playlist. All it is about is a Black Widow having its minions and gobbling up men. It's pretty awesome. Alright, after Alice Cooper, we are on to the next king of Halloween music. Of course I'm talking about Rob Zombie. Now obviously I have Dragula and Living Dead Girl on my playlist, but I'm not going to talk about those too much because those have been insanely popular Halloween favorites since they were released in the late 90s. But there are some other songs that I think are really underappreciated by Rob Zombie and should be on everyone's Halloween playlist. The first one being American Witch on the album Educated Horses. Now obviously this song is about the Salem witch trials, hence American Witch. But I think it takes a pretty interesting look at the whole thing. I don't want to spoil the song for you, but it is very dark, very spooky, and it just sounds really good and it's pretty damn heavy. The next song we have on there is Lords of Salem. The interesting thing is American Witch is like the second song on Educated Horses, and Lords of Salem is the last song on Educated Horses. So there's a pretty big contrast, not just in placement, but also in mood. Whereas American Witch takes a perspective one way, Lords of Salem takes it the exact opposite way. And I thought it was a really interesting way to place those songs on the album. And once again, Lords of Salem is also very dark and very heavy, and sets a very dark mood, I think. It's a pretty interesting listen. Once again, I'm not going to spoil it for you, so definitely just find a way to listen to it and check it out. And just a few other Rob Zombie songs I have on my playlist here. We have Call of the Zombie, which is the very beginning of Hellbilly Deluxe. It's essentially just this little girl doing this really creepy nursery rhyme. The song is only about 30 seconds, but it's pretty weird and dark, and if you're trying to set the mood for Halloween, that song definitely does it. A few other mood setters would be What Lurks on Channel X and How to Make a Monster. Once again, pretty short songs, but they're just so creepy and weird that you just sit there and be like, why would someone create this and put this on an album? So those are the reasons why they're on my playlist. Okay, after Rob Zombie, we are now moving on to the monsters of Finnish rock, Lordi. Now everybody knows that I'm a gigantic Lordi fan, I have been for years, and it just wouldn't be Halloween unless you have a bunch of guys in monster suits playing rock and roll, right? So the first songs we have on this playlist here are from the album Deadache. Now Lordi fans absolutely love this album, even though the band itself absolutely hates it. I guess it's kind of become a cult classic for their music. But either way, it's a very dark and spooky album. I guess the band was going through a lot of turmoil at this time in their musical career, and this is the result of it. So maybe that's why the band hates it so much, but the fans absolutely loved it. Either way, the first song we have on here is Scarctic Circle Gathering 4. Now, it's another very short song, just under a minute, but it's just the band whispering this really creepy nursery rhyme, and it really sets the tone for the rest of the album, and that's why it's on my playlist. And after that, we have the title track, Deadache. I guess this song is about the serial killer Ed Gein, and I guess the lead singer of the band felt some sort of connection to him when they were writing this album, and hence this song came out of it. Now, I don't want to ruin it for you, but every time I listen to it, I get these images in my head of this harvest season farmhouse, and to me, it just screams Halloween in my head. So that is why that is on my playlist. Now after that, we have another Lordi song called House of Ghosts. Now this is a really interesting one because I was listening to Mr. Lordi himself do a podcast, and he talked about this song. Apparently a few years ago, he was renovating an old house. I believe it was his grandparents' house in Finland. Either way, as they were doing it, he believes that there was ghosts in the house, and it really freaked him out. But he never felt like they were malevolent spirits. He always felt that they were maybe just spirits crying out for help, or they weren't evil. They were just people who unfortunately had died. And he ended up going a bit more into the history of the house, and some pretty bad shit happened there. I'm not really going to get into it. But either way, he ended up writing this song about his experience possibly with these ghosts in this house. And in that house, he ended up getting a medium to come to the house to perform some sort of ritual to cleanse the house of the spirits, to help them move on to the other side, if you believe in that kind of stuff. But even if you do or don't believe in ghosts, this is a very interesting song for someone to write about their rather not bad experience with ghosts, but an interesting experience with ghosts. And of course, it's Halloween, you gotta have a ghost story in there. Up next, we have John 5 and the Creatures, the song Making Monsters from the album Season of the Witch. Now, what I love about this song is the opening of it. They took it from the theme music from the movie Mad Monster Party and put it at the very beginning. Now, it's this kind of kooky, jazz-like, almost childlike opening to a Halloween movie, and I absolutely love that opening. It's so kind of cutesy, but also spooky in a way, and then it gets into these really hardcore heavy metal riffs, and just that contrast in one song, in my opinion, it really sets a cool mood for Halloween, and that's definitely on my playlist. Alright, we are down to the final artist for my Halloween playlist, and that is John Carpenter. Now, of course, everybody knows who John Carpenter is. He directed Halloween and The Thing, as well as many other classic horror movies. But for those of you who don't know, is that ever since John Carpenter retired from filmmaking, he has been writing and recording his very own original music. He has 3 albums, Lost Themes 1, 2, and 3, and I have all 3 of them, and I picked my favorite songs from all 3 of those albums. It's like a mix between dark synth and rock, and it's really interesting and not quite what I expected. But either way, most of the songs are actually really, really good. So if you've never listened to John Carpenter's original music, definitely check it out. But as for my playlist, the 3 songs I chose were Angel's Asylum, Carpathian Darkness, and Vampire's Touch. Now, the reason I chose those songs is because they all start out so melodic and almost beautiful in a way, but then as the songs progress, they get darker and heavier. Next thing you know, they're all busting out into these bitchin' guitar solos. It really blew my mind the first time I listened to his music. I was not expecting this out of John Carpenter, but I absolutely love it, and that is why it ended up on my Halloween playlist. So I think that's enough about me talking about my Halloween playlist for now. I'm sorry this video went so long. I didn't realize how much I had so much to say about all these songs, and I didn't even get to all the songs in my playlist. But no worries, I will be putting all of the songs on this playlist down in the description, so you guys can check them out and decide whether or not you want them on your Halloween playlist as well. But of course I want to get your guys' opinion on all of this. What do you think of the songs that I chose for this video? And please tell me your picks for your Halloween playlist of rock and metal music, or different genres. I'm definitely open to different types of music for my Halloween playlist. I love just going for a walk in the beautiful fall weather and listening to a whole bunch of dark, creepy, spooky music. It's just the best thing to listen to when you're walking through a forest, or just going through a drive to a pumpkin patch or something. It's just what Halloween is all about. So that's it for today's video. If you like what you saw, don't forget to like and subscribe, leave me a comment letting me know what you thought of today's video, checking out some of my past videos, and sharing them with a few of your friends while you're at it. If you'd like to keep up with me on a more daily basis, you can follow me on Facebook and on Instagram. I also have a PO box open. All of that info is down in the description. I also have patches for sale, so if you'd like to get your very own, you can click right over here. There's also a link down in the description. Overall, thank you very much for watching, guys. And don't forget to stay spooky.